So in today's video, you will learn three things. The first one, how you can use the Azure Spring App that you can see here directly from the template catalog. Then, how you can set up your own Brainboard account, for example, by inviting all your team members to join the organization, create different projects, and create different teams. And then, how you can design and manage your CI/CD workflows for security and cost purposes, for example. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is that we go to the template catalog, we look for Azure Spring App, and then you simply need to clone this template into a new architecture if you want to use it. So here, once it's cloned, then you will have the design, the Terraform code, but also all of these Terraform files. So for example, here in the main.tf, you find all of these resources that we have used to build this infrastructure. For example, here, the private DNS zone, you have the Terraform code. To understand how we configure it, then you simply need to open the ID account. You have the required parameter, the advanced configuration, and the meta arguments of Terraform with the count, the depends on, and the for each. For example, now, if you look at the key vault, then you have the Terraform code as well. You open the ID account, and here, you look at the required parameter, the advanced configuration that you can modify, of course, depending on your work, and then the extra attributes with the count, the depends on, and the for each. So here you also have, for example, the providers.tf. If you want to customize it, then you simply need to select a cloud provider, write your own custom Terraform provider. Here you can customize it the way you want. Then here you have the variables and, for example, the locals. So variables and locals, you can find them directly in the input here. So you can create variables either at the organization level, project, environment, or architecture. So here, for this specific infrastructure, we created three variables. So here you have the admin password. So to create your variables, you simply need to choose a name, choose the scope, architecture, choose a type, here string, the value default. You can either add a description as well, and then you can flag the value of this variable as sensitive if you want. Now we can also find the remote backend. So to set up your own remote backend, then you simply need to go to data, and here you will set it up at the organization level. You can choose either AWS S3, Azure Blob Storage, Terraform Cloud, or Brainboard backend, for example, as we are using AWS S3. So here, to also better understand why and how we build this infrastructure, then we have also included the README here, with the description, the architecture components, how to use the architecture, and who are the maintainers. Now, let's say that you would like to add new resources to this infrastructure. What you can do is that you can look at all of these resources here. To use it, for example, to use the web application is very easy. Simply need to drag and drop it here. Automatically, the ID account will be open. Here you will configure your own resource. Here, for example, you add as a name default. You also have the documentation to help you configure this resource. Then you close the account, and you can look at the Terraform code that has been automatically generated from the design. So here, what you can do is that you can also create different versions. So for example, here we do the same thing. Now we create the first version, initial commit. Then here, let's say you would like to use, for example, an API, just again another example. Then here you say default. You have the ID count, you configure the resource the way you want. Here, the code will be automatically generated and updated. And then here you can add, so added resources, commit, and then here you have the initial commit, so you roll back, and here the added resources. So here initial commit. So now we looked at the design, we look at the code. What you can do, for example, is that you can, instead of having everything in the main.tf, then you can, for example, choose to create multiple Terraform files. So here, virtual network, you choose all of these resources here. So you have selected 9 nodes. What you can do is that you group the resources and you create a new Terraform file. So here you will call it VNet, and then you save. So here you go to main.tf, and then you can find the new Terraform file that you have just created with all of these resources. So here, once we have done it, then we need to check that actually the Terraform code that has been automatically generated from this design is actually valid. To do so is very easy. You need to do a plan. To do the plan, before doing it, you need to set up your own credentials. So here, as you can see, Brainboard is a multi-cloud solution. So you can either work on AWS, Azure, GCP, Scaleway, or OCI. Today we work on Azure. Here you simply need to specify all of these fields. Once you have done it, then here what you can do is that you go back to the design and then you do the plan. So here, as you can see here, pipeline concurrency limited, so you are allowed to run only one pipeline at a time. So it's to protect also the state. So here it's good. And here you will have the output that you can see here, and you have the result and the output of the plan with 17 resources to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. If you are happy with that, then you can do here either an apply, so you can provision your infrastructure directly from Brainboard, or what you can do as well is that you can do a pull request here. So to do pull requests, you can either do it from GitHub, Azure DevOps, Bitbucket, or GitLab. To do that, you simply need to open the Git settings. So here you set up your own credentials. You can also use GitHub if you want. So here you can create the pull request. And here, what we're going to do now is that we're going to design our own CI/CD. So here, what you can do is that you can either start from a template or you can create a new workflow. So here we will create a new workflow, cost and security. We create it. Once it's created, then here we will add the different tasks. Here we will do Terraform validate. Here Terraform validate. Then here we will add the Terraform plan. So here we give it a name, Terraform plan. Here we will run, for example, Infracost. So for cost estimation. So here the API key. Then here, for example, what you can do is that you can use Tfsec. So basically Tfsec will scan the Terraform code. Here, security check. Here, ignore failure. Here, you can send an email, for example, here, security team. Here will be, for example, security@brainboard.co. And here, check the security requirement of this infrastructure. So here you save. Now what you can do is that you can also provision your infrastructure directly from Brainboard by doing a Terraform apply. So here provision infrastructure. Here you can require the approval. Here you gave, for example, here you choose who you would like to authorize this infrastructure to be provisioned from Brainboard. So here you save and close, and here you can run the pipeline. So here you just need to check approval email, require approval is good, and then run the pipeline here. So here you can see that Brainboard will run all of these tasks, and you will have the output of each task directly here. As you can see, the first one is Terraform validate, it's running. Success, the configuration is valid. Now we will do a Terraform plan, it's pending. So here we will have the output. Here the output of the plan, 17 resources to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. No, so now we will have the cost of this infrastructure. So here we have the overall total cost is $175.62. So here failed for Tfsec. We understand why it failed. We understand as well with the documentation here how to resolve and how to make it, let's say, more secure. So here the security team will receive an email. It's running, and then they will go back to Brainboard, make all the changes, and here we will be able to provision the infrastructure directly from Brainboard. So here we have the status, it failed, where did it fail for Tfsec, the name of the workflow, and the initiator. Now what you can do, for example, here is that you can use a template, for example, for the drift detection. To use it is very easy. Create a workflow from the template. Here, as you can see, you have the drift detection here. So you configure the task. You also edit the workflow details here. You have the name, the description, so how you can use and why you should use the drift detection, the schedule, for example here, 10 a.m., and then you can notify on failure. So here you can save it and close. And here, as you can see, you can have various workflows on Brainboard, for example, cost and security that we have designed together. And then here you can just use, for example, the drift detection. And here, the way you work on Brainboard is that you have here all your projects, environment, architecture, all of that here. So I hope this video has been useful for you, and if you have any questions about it, I will be happy to help you build your own use case and your own infrastructure on Brainboard. Have a great day.